Yep, I am going to lovingly mute all of you, and you will be able to unmute at the appropriate time. Hang on, Trish, let me get the script up. Okay.
Good evening. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it onto our website, our podcast, and our YouTube channel. We recorded audio only. Feel free to use the podcast on our website along with your big book as a resource if you missed the study portion of the meeting. The study portion is also listed on the website so that you can follow along. Tonight's recap will start on page 158 where it says, "So you see," and will end on page 161, will number many hundreds. And our study tonight will start on page 161, but Life Among Alcoholics Anonymous, and will end on page 164, The Road of Happy Destiny. Do we have any announcements?
Hi family, my name is Jamie, very grateful recovered alcoholic, and I just posted it in chat, but I will post it again. This is a flyer for our upcoming CPC Public Information Workshop in District 40, which this group happens to be part of. And we will be doing that on the 17th. It'll be about a 4-hour workshop between the two committees. You can come Zoom in because we'll be doing it hybrid, and if you'd like to learn more about public information or cooperation with professional committee, you are more than welcome to come and learn some things. You know, here's what's important about that. Sometimes, as members of Alcoholics Anonymous beyond the group, we become a committee of one. So it's always helpful to keep a few pamphlets of Alcoholics Anonymous in your middle console or your glove box or something, because you never know when you're going to have the opportunity to give them out to somebody and give some contacts out to somebody and to be helpful and help plant seeds. So that's the only announcement. Well, 4th of July, Lppbbsg here at my house. You want details, give with me or Trish. Okay, moving on. Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, and I'm still a grateful recovered alcoholic. That hasn't changed in the last 35 seconds. And welcome to the Lppbbsg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. To prepare for our Big Book study, let's get focused by having a 3-minute moment of meditation followed by our family's fog light prayer.
And I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name is Trish. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
Please be aware of background noises when you're unmuted, and sharing is not to distract others or yourself. We suggest we all observe proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. And a friendly reminder that absence of profanity offends no one. We will call on you in the order that hands are raised.
From the foreword to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, we of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group.
For the meditation, some suggestions are: focus on your breath and posture, breathe in God, and breathe out self.
Take this time to reconnect with God and let the craziness of the day drift away, and ask God to help you focus on the study.
And let's invite the monks in to do what the monks do so well. Enjoy your time with God, folks. And on your screen in front of you is our family's Foglight prayer. If you'd like to join us, you're welcome to. God, let your love shine through us like a foglight, so that those that are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
Let's have our secretary's report. Come on in, Susan.
Hi, my name is Susan, and I'm the Recovered Alcoholic Secretary. I've asked Art to read the recovered statement. We read this notice to explain why many people in this group identify as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be a recovered alcoholic. Take it away, Art.
My name is Art. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic, and this is the recovered statement. We are not cured of alcoholism. Recovered but not cured? This presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If we were cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. No, we're not cured. The allergic reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime. But we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem with the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than in his body. Page 23. We are now sane where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday starting at 5:30 p.m. Central Time with the Gerbil Fellowship Cage, where we chatter for an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dish to share with the buzzards. Our Big Book study starts promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our Big Book study seriously because this chat will be disabled during the study. In the 1940s, when the only elements to sobriety were God, a Big Book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, the success rate was as follows. From the forward to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page XX, of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapsed, and the remainder of those who stayed on with AA showed improvement. Can we have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time?
I don't think we have anybody new tonight, Susan.
Okay, and then the recovered alcoholics. Right, these are your potential sponsors. Is anyone celebrating a milestone this week? If you should require a Big Book of your own, we have large print editions available that can be sent to you by buzzard mail. Delivery time is questionable. Please remember to practice our 7th tradition by donating to the group address, Venmo, or PayPal posted in chat and on the screen. Our suggestion is to purchase a Big Book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. Please visit our website posted in the chat. Thank you. See y'all next week.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Art, for your service tonight. Greatly appreciated. From Chapter 2, there is a solution. A tremendous fact for every one of us is that we've discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can agree, absolutely agree, and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you need not identify yourself, nor your reason for being here if you do not wish to do so. Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility.
Before we begin our study of the Big Book, last week we reviewed Tradition 2. Tonight, let's take a quick look at Tradition 3. Please refer to page 562 of our book, Alcoholics Anonymous. And come on in, Gandalf.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Donald, and I am a very grateful, recovered, but not cured alcoholic. And this is tradition number 3. In the short form, it states that the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. In the long form, it says our membership ought to include all who suffer from alcoholism. Hence, we may refuse none who wish to recover. Nor ought AA membership ever depend upon money or conformity. Any 2 or 3 alcoholics gathered together for sobriety may call themselves an AA group, provided that they have no other affiliation. And hey, guess what? That's not all I got for you tonight. I know you guys are ready for this and stuff. When I first heard this tradition, it sounded simple, almost too simple, but over time, I've come to see how powerful and protective it is. Not just for AA as a fellowship, but for every individual who walks through the door. To understand how this tradition came to be, it's helpful to go back in the early days of Alcoholics Anonymous, around the 1940s. And at that time, AA was still finding its footing. The big book had just been published, meetings were spreading far and wide, but the structure and principles we now take for granted were still evolving. There's a well-known story, often told in AA circles, about a man who came to the early groups in New York. He was a mess. He had a criminal record. He was in and out of mental institutions, and he didn't fit the ideal image of a sober man. Some of the members were uncomfortable with him joining. They wondered, shouldn't there be some standards for membership? Shouldn't we have the right to decide who qualifies? Well, the group went to Bill Wilson, co-founder, and Dr. Bob, and together they reflected deeply on the core mission of AA, to help alcoholics recover. And with that in mind, they came to a firm and revolutionary conclusion. Who are we to say who should and shouldn't recover? Who are we to judge someone else's desire to stop drinking? And so the third tradition was born. Later, formally written in the 12 traditions, in the original 12 and 12, Bill wrote, AA is not a club in a conventional sense. There are no fees or dues whatsoever. The only requirement for AA membership is that desire to stop drinking. And this was groundbreaking, not just within AA, but in a larger world of recovery. While other organizations at the time had lengthy rules and qualifications for entry, AA stood apart with this one simple condition. It opened the door to everyone, regardless of age, sex, background, history, belief system, gender, race, or behavior. This tradition doesn't just protect the group from discrimination, it protects the individual from being cast out or judged. It means that no one has the authority to tell me I don't belong if I say I want to stop drinking. It means I have a place, no matter what I've done or how many times I've relapsed. And it goes even deeper. The third tradition is about humility and spiritual growth. It reminds me that we are all equals in this room. There is no hierarchy. No one is better or worse than the next guy. We are united by a common problem and a shared solution. So what does that mean to us today? In practice, this tradition shows up in 1,000 small ways. You don't have to be sober to attend a meeting, believe it or not. You don't have to believe in a God or any specific higher power. You don't have to meet any external standards. No dues or fees are required, just that desire. When someone new comes to AA smelling of alcohol, we let them in. When someone returns after a relapse, we say, keep coming back. When someone struggles with belief, we when someone speaks honestly about shame or brokenness, we listen without judgment. The tradition reminds us that we don't have to be perfect to be here. I don't have to be sober yet. All I need is a desire to stop drinking, even if that desire is shaky or new. And many members share that the third tradition is what allowed them to walk through the door and stay. It reminds people that they belong, even if they feel broken or ashamed. The tradition reflects compassion, humility, and the understanding that recovery is for everyone who seeks it. So today, when I hear someone read the third tradition, I think of that man who showed up at that early meeting and made everyone uncomfortable. And by the way, in the 12 and 12, he's referred by the name of Ed. And I want to thank God they let him stay. Because of his story and this tradition are a reminder that we all belong. Not because we've earned it, but just because we need it. And I hope I never forget that the door was open for me and must always remain open for the next alcoholic who needs it. So God bless you guys. Thank you for listening. My name is Donald, and I am a very grateful, recovered, but not cured alcoholic.
Thank you, Donald. Excellent job, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for Tradition 5. Now it's time for our weekly segment of That Ain't in the Book. We hear a lot of stuff said in meetings which can't be reconciled with the program as described in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. One of those things we often hear is, there are no musts in the program. So Pickle Chips is going to come in and tell us what the book actually has to say on that subject on page 62 in the third paragraph. Welcome, Pickle Chips.
Thank you. Above everything, we alcoholics must be rid of this selfishness. We must, or it kills us.
Thank you, Terry.
Terry. As we study, please make use of the pens, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
In order for us to stay focused as we study the Big Book, we use the Big Book Study Guide prepared by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Tonight, we're going to start our recap on page 158, which will be read tonight by Zane, followed by our study portion, which will be read tonight by Kenny. After the pages are read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium, starting back at our study portion, which Kenny reads. The answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply a one-sentence answer split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation.
Basically, in English, what that means is we are going to read the material once through and then dissect the information a second time through the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the question gives us a new light in which to consider the studied material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we've completed the study, we open up for comment, questions, and observations based on what was just read. If you have spiritual experiences with this information, you are free to share. Please keep your share on topic and under about 5 minutes. And at that 5-minute mark, you may hear a timer beep to let you know your time is finished, or to please please wrap it up in a moment or two.
However, Big Book study is not therapy. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, for example with the sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzards nipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of the co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps, is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group.
Thank you. And how we arrived at this point? Well, you all know the drill. You've all been here before, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But tonight we are on week 87 of a 94-week Big Book study. Tonight we are going to finish out the chapter A Vision for You, and then next week we are going to start something new, something a lot of groups don't do. We are going to read Dr. Bob's story. We're going to do it with this question format, and I believe that's going to take us about 3 weeks. And then, even though we have a weekly traditionalist, we are going to take 2 weeks, and we're going to do 6 traditions a night for the period of 2 weeks through this question and answer format as well, which just helps give us all a different way to look at the traditions. And then on week 94, we will be coming back to the spiritual experience for the 4th time throughout this study as a standalone meeting. We are directed 3 times in the earlier chapters to go to the spiritual experience and read it, and we ask questions just like we do with everything else in the spiritual experience. So on that week it will be a standalone evening of the spiritual experience. And why did we decide to do that? Because it's kind of important to recognize whether or not you've had one, or maybe in the process of one, or maybe even a spiritual experience. So we thought there was great value in that. And then when we close down with the Lord's Prayer, guess what? The buzzards are going to circle us back around the very next week, and we are going to start at the title page all over again. We are in our 3rd season of doing this, and our 5th year. It takes us about a year and a half to go through the book from beginning to end like this. So it's not the kind of meeting that you're going to come in and take the steps, and you should probably do that with the sponsor anyway. But it is the kind of meeting where if you stick around, you will learn much about Alcoholics Anonymous, our history, and the deep, significant value that our program has to offer each and every one of us. And Trish has one more thing to say.
Before we start the recap, we will need 5 or 6 virtual hands raised if you would like to be one of our answer readers. And again, please be aware that the first hour and a half of the meeting is recorded so that we can put it onto our website and our YouTube channel. So while our 5 or 6 answer hands are going up, I'm going to call in Zane to come on and read our recap, please.
Yeah, hi, Zane. Grateful recovered alcoholic. So you see, there were 3 alcoholics in that town. Oh, first, is audio's okay, I hope. Okay. So you see, there were 3 alcoholics in that town who now felt they had to give to others what they had found, or be sunk. After several failures to find others, a 4th turned up. He came through an acquaintance who had heard the good news. We proved to be a devil-may-care young fella. He proved to be a devil-may-care young fella whose parents could not make out whether he wanted to stop drinking or not. They were deeply religious people, much shocked by their son's refusal to have anything to do with the church. He suffered horribly from his sprees, but it seemed as if nothing could be done for him. He consented, however, to go to hospital, where he occupied the very room recently vacated by the lawyer. He had 3 visitors. After a bit, he said, "The way you fellas put this spiritual stuff makes sense. I'm ready to do business. I guess the folks were right after all." So, 1 more was added to the fellowship. At this time, our friend from the hotel lobby incident remained in that town. He was there 3 months. He now returned home, leaving behind his first acquaintance, the lawyer, and the devil-may-care chap. These men had found something brand new in life. Though they knew they must help other alcoholics if they would remain sober, that motive became secondary. It was transcended by the happiness they found in giving themselves for others. They shared their homes, their slender resources, and gladly devoted their spare hours to fellow sufferers. They were willing by day or night to place a new man in the hospital and visit him afterwards. They grew in numbers. They experienced a few distressing failures, but in those cases they made an effort to bring a man's family into a spiritual way of living, thus relieving much worry and suffering. A year and 6 months later, these three had succeeded with 7 more. Seeing much of each other, scarce an evening passed that someone's home did not shelter a little gathering of men and women. Happy in their release, they constantly thinking how they might present their discovery to some newcomer. In addition to these casual get-togethers, it became customary to set apart one night a week for a meeting to be attended by anyone and everyone interested in the spiritual way of life. Aside from fellowship and sociability, the prime object was to provide a time and place where new people might bring their problems. Outsiders became interested. One man and his wife placed their large home at the disposal of this strangely assorted crowd. This couple had since become so fascinated that they have dedicated their home to the work. Many a distracted wife had visited this house to find loving and understanding companionship among women who knew her problem. To hear from the lips of their husbands what had happened to them. To be advised how her own wayward mate might be hospitalised and approached when next he stumbled. Many a man, yet days from his hospital experience, had stepped over the threshold of that home into freedom. Many an alcoholic who entered that there came away with an answer. He succumbed to that gay crowd inside, who laughed at their own misfortunes and understood his. Expressed by those who visited him at the hospital, he catapulted entirely when, later, in an upper room of this house, he heard the story of some man whose experience closely tallied with his own. The expression on the faces of the woman, that indefinable something in their eyes, in the eyes of the men, the stimulating and electric atmosphere of the place conspired to let him know that here was haven at last. The very practical approach to his problems, the absence of intolerance of any kind, the informality, the genuine democracy, the uncanny understanding which these people had were irresistible. He and his wife would leave elated by the thought of what they could now do for some stricken acquaintance and his family. They knew they had a host of new friends. It seemed they had known these strangers always. They had seen miracles, and one was to come to them. They had visioned a great reality, their loving and all-powerful Creator. Now this house will hardly accommodate its weekly visitors, for they number 60 or 80 as a rule. Alcoholics are being attracted from far and near. From surrounding towns, families drive long distances to be present. A community 30 miles away has 15 fellows of Alcoholics Anonymous. Being a large place, we think that someday its fellowship will number many hundreds. And written in 1939. Thanks.
Thank you, Zane. And we've got 2 hands, William's hand and Zane's that went down while he was reading. We could use 3 or 4 more hands as answer readers. And and I'm hoping they come up as Kenny comes in and reads our study portion.
Hey, Kenny Alcoholic. But life among Alcoholics Anonymous is more than attending gatherings and visiting hospitals, cleaning up old scrapes, helping to settle family differences, explaining the disinherited son to his irate parents, lending money and securing jobs for each other when justified. These are everyday occurrences. No one is too discredited or has sunk too low to be welcomed cordially if he means business. Social distinction, petty rivalries, and jealousies, these are laughed out of continents, being wrecked in the same vessel, being restored and united under one God, with hearts and minds attuned to the welfare of others, the things which matter so much to some people no longer signify much to them. How could they? Under only slightly different conditions, the same things are taking place in many eastern cities. In one of these, there is a well-known hospital for the treatment of alcoholics and drug addiction. 6 years ago, one of our numbers was a patient there. Many of us have felt for the first time the presence and the power of God within its walls. We are greatly indebted to the doctor and attendant there, for he, although it might prejudice his own work, has told us of his belief in ours. Every few days, this doctor suggests our approach to one of his patients. Understanding our work, he could do this with an eye to selecting those who are willing and are able to recover on a spiritual basis. Many of us former patients go there to help. Then in this eastern city, there are informal meetings such as we have described to you, where you may now see scores of members. There are the same fast friendships. There is the same helpfulness to one another as you find among our Western friends. There is a good bit of travel between East and West, and now foresees a great increase in this helpful interchange. Someday, we hope that every alcoholic who journeys will find a fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous at his destination. To some extent, this is already true. Some of us are salesmen and go about. Little clusters of 2 or 3 and 5 of us have sprung up in our communities. Through contact with our 2 largest centers, those of us who travel drop in as often as we can. This practice enables us to lend hands, at the same time avoiding certain alluring distractions of the road about which any traveling man can inform you. Thus we grow, and so can you. Though you be one man with this book in your hand, we believe and hope it contains all you need to begin. We know what you are thinking. You are saying to yourself, I am jittery alone. I couldn't do this, but I can. you forget that you have just now tapped a source of power which greater than yourself. To duplicate with such backing with what we have accomplished is the only a matter of willingness, patience, and labor. We know of an AA member who was living in a large community. He had lived there for a few weeks. Now he found that the place probably contains more alcoholics per square mile than any city in the country. This was only a few days ago at this writing, 1939. The authorities were much concerned. He got in touch with a prominent psychiatrist who had undertaken certain responsibilities for the mental health of the community. The doctor proved to be an exceedingly anxious to adopt any workable method of handling the situation. So he inquired, what did our friends have on the ball? Our friend proceeded to tell him, and with such good effect that the doctor agreed to a test among his patients and certain other alcoholics from a clinic which he attends. Arrangements were also made with the chief psychiatrist of a large public hospital to select still others from the stream of misery which flows through that institution. So our fellow workers will soon have friends galore. Some of them may think and perhaps never get up. But if our experience is psychiatric, if our experience is I don't know that word, more than half of those approached will become fellows of Alcoholics Anonymous. When few men in the city have found themselves and discovered the joy of helping others to face life again, there will be no stopping until everyone in that town has had an opportunity to recover, if he can or will. Still, you may say, but I will not have the benefit of contact with you who writes this book. We cannot be sure. God will determine that. So you must remember that your real reliance is always upon Him. He will show you how to create the fellowship you crave. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answer will come if your own house is in order. Obviously, you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it in your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and to your fellows. Clear the records of your past. Give freely what you find and join us. We shall be with you, and we shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you dredge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you,
much.
Kenny. And Kenny, for clarification, the word was criterion, like as in criteria.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for reading.
So for our answer readers, please speak clearly into your microphones and go ahead and you can unmute at this time. We will ask the questions in our script by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff. The answers to the questions will be sentence by sentence coming out of the portion that Kenny just read. And if those answering the questions lose their place, please allow me to direct them so we don't have 6 people all talking over each other to give them the information. There's something else I was going to say and I don't remember what, but it'll come to me.
Blank.
Our batting order.
Blank.
Yes.
Squirrel.
Our batting order tonight is going to be William, Zane, Art, Donald, Terry, and Mayella. You had your hand up and you put it down. So yes, no, maybe so. Okay, I will put you in after Terry.
You can go ahead and unmute Mayella.
Okay. And there will be through it, sprinkled in between a whole bunch of the questions are going to be a whole bunch of comments that Jamie's going to be coming in with. That's what else I was going to say. So, William, starting with you, life in AA is more than what?
Well, life among Alcoholics Anonymous is more than attending gatherings
Go ahead.
and visiting hospitals,
Thank you.
cleaning up old streets,
That's it. Stopping
helping
at,
to sell.
hold on, stopping at hospital. And Zane, what are some of the other activities?
Cleaning up old scrapes, helping to settle family differences, explaining the disinherent son to his irate parents, lending money and securing jobs for each other. When justified, these are everyday occurrences.
Thank you so much. And Art, a 2-part question. A, who is not welcomed? And B, but what is the one requirement?
No one thing is no one is too discredited or has sunk too low to be welcomed cordially, if he means business.
Thank you. And Donald, what things are laughed out of countenance?
So,
You froze, Donald. Turn your video off, Donald. See if I can do it. Donald is frozen. Go ahead and move on. Ask somebody else the question, Trish.
You want me to do it?
You want to come? Jamie, you got a comment. Do you want to bounce in? Do you want to come in with it?
Yeah. Hang tough. I lost contact with Zoom. Okay, continence means in an unsupported or unfavorable position.
Thank you. And Terry, what no longer has proved to be of any significance? And please read the rest of the paragraph.
Okay, what is the first word?
Being wrecked.
Being wrecked in the same vessel, being restored and united under one God, with hearts and minds attuned to the welfare of others. The things which matter so much to some people no longer signify much to them. How could they?
Thank you. And Mayella, what started happening in eastern cities?
Under only slightly different conditions, the same thing is taking place in many eastern cities.
Thank you so much. And William, back to you. What was there in one of these cities?
In one of these, there was a well-known hospital for the treatment of alcohol and drug addiction.
The well-known hospital was Towns Hospital in New York City.
Thank you. And Zane, coming to you. How long ago was it that Bill W. had met Dr. Silkworth?
6 years ago, one of our numbers was a patient there.
Thank you. And Art, what had many alcoholics experienced at that hospital?
Many of us have felt for the first time the presence and power of God within its walls.
Thank you. And Donald, a two-part question. A, to whom are we indebted? And B, why is that so?
Okay, I lost my place and stuff. Am I still frozen?
Nope, we are greatly.
We are greatly indebted to the doctor in attendance there, for he, although it might prejudice his own work, has told us of his belief in ours.
Thank you. And Terry, every few days, what did Dr. Silkworth do?
Every few days, this doctor suggests our approach to one of the patients.
Thank you. And Mayella, because he understood our work, what could he do?
Understanding our work, he can do this with an eye to selecting those who are willing and able to recover with a spiritual basis.
Thank you so much. William, back to you. What did many recovered alcoholics do?
Many of us former patient go there to help.
Thank you. And Zane, a two-part question for you. A, what was going on in this eastern city? And B, did many attend?
Then, in this eastern city, there are informal meetings, such as we have described to you, where you may now see scores of members.
Thank you. And Art, what similarity was there to the Akron group?
There are the same fast friendships of members. No, there is the same helpfulness to one another as you find among our Western friends.
Thank you. And Donald, a two-part question. A, what was going on between Akron and New York? And B, what did they foresee?
Yeah, I trying to do something. What's the word?
There is a good bit.
There is a good bit of travel between East and West, and we foresee a great increase in the helpful interchange.
Thank you. And Terry, what is our hope?
Someday we hope that every alcoholic who journeys will find a fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous at its destination.
Thank you. And Mayella, was it beginning to happen at the time this book was written?
To some extent, this is already true.
Thank you. William, what are some of our members?
Oh, that's for me?
Some
of us okay. Some of us are salesmen and the others goes about.
Thank you.
Goes.
And Zane, a two-part question again. A, what had begun to spring up in other communities? B, where were they getting their direction?
Little clusters of 2 and 3s and 5s of us have sprung up in other communities. So contact with our two larger centres.
Thank you. And Art, what did members who traveled do?
Those of us who travel drop in as often as we can.
Thank you. And Donald, what two good things resulted from this type of activity?
This practice enables us to lend a hand, at the same time avoiding certain alluring distractions of the road, about which any traveling man can inform you. And do you want the asterisk read too?
Jamie will get it.
Written in 1939, our fellowship continues to grow.
And Terry, so they are doing what?
Thus we grow.
Thank you. And Mayella, a two-part question for you. A, what can we do? And B, what should you have?
And so can you. Though you may be but one man with this book in your hand. We believe and hope.
Oops.
Oh, sorry.
Tapping at hand, that's okay.
This is the idea of sponsorship, maybe even big book sponsorship.
And back to you, William. What did the authors believe?
We know what you are thinking.
Oh, we believe. Back one sentence.
We know what you are thinking. You are saying to
Hold
yourself.
on. Back up one sentence to where it says we believe.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, I got you.
After
We
booking
believe
your-
and hope it is contain all you will need to begin.
Thank you. And Zane, what do we know?
We know what you are thinking.
Thank you. And Art, what are you saying to yourself? 2 sentences, please.
You're saying to yourself, I'm jittery and alone. I couldn't do that.
Thank you. And Donald, but what?
But you can. You can.
Thank you. Terry, what have you forgotten?
You forgot that you have just now tapped a source of power much greater than yourself.
Thank you. And Mayella, what is required to duplicate what the authors accomplished?
To duplicate with such backing what we have accomplished is only a matter of willingness, patience, and labor.
Thank you. And William, who do they know?
We know all AA members was living in a larger community.
Thank you. Zane, a 2-part question again. A, how long had he lived there? And B, what did he find?
He had lived there but a few weeks when he found that the place probably contained more alcoholics per square mile than any city in the country.
Thank you. And Art, before long, or how long before the writing of this book was it?
This was only a few days ago at this writing.
This was in 1939.
Thank you. And Donald, did the authorities care?
The authorities were much concerned.
This man was Hank Parkhurst, the alcoholic who authored Chapter 10 to the employers.
And Terry, what did Hank do?
He got in touch with a prominent psychiatrist who had undertaken certain responsibilities for the mental health of the community.
Thank you. And Mayella, what did the doctor prove to be?
The doctor proved to be able and exceeding anxious to adopt any workable and method of handling the situation.
Thank you. And William, back to you. Did he check Hank out?
He inquired what our friend have to on the ball.
Thank you. And Zane, did Hank talk with the doctor?
Our friend proceeded to tell him.
Thank you. And Art, how well was the doctor impressed?
And with such good effect that the doctor agreed to a test among his patients and certain other alcoholics from the clinic which he attends.
Thank you. And Donald, what arrangements were made?
Arrangements were also made with the chief psychiatrist of a large public hospital to select still others from the stream of misery which flows through that institution.
Thank you. And Terry, what will our fellow workers soon have?
So our fellow worker will soon have friends galore.
Thank you. And Mayella, a 2-part question. A, what will happen to some of them? And B, but if our experience is any criteria, how many will make it?
Some of them may sink and perhaps never get up. But if our experience is a criterion, more than half of those approached will become fellows of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Does it appear that we should try to learn how they worked with a new man? If following the clear-cut directions in this book produced these results, what could we do?
Thank you. And William, a three-part question. A, what will happen when a few men try this program? B, what have they discovered as the result of working with others? And C, there will be no stopping until what has happened?
When a few men in this city have found themselves and have discovered the joy of helping others to face life again, there will be no stopping until everyone in that town has an opportunity to recover if we can and will.
Thank you so much. And Zane, but what may you say?
Still, you may say, but I will not have the benefit of contact with you who write this book.
And Art, can we be sure?
We cannot be sure.
Consider this. Don't we truly meet these people as we read their stories and learn how they recovered?
Thank you. And Donald, a two-part question. A, who will determine that? And B, so who must you rely on?
Well, God will determine that. So you must remember that your real reliance is always upon Him.
Thank you. And Terry, who will show you how to have many friends?
He will show you how to create the fellowship you crave.
And at the asterisk, Alcoholics Anonymous will be glad to hear from you. Address P.O. Box 459, Grand Central Station, New York, New York 10163. And I can tell you for a fact that is still an active mailbox today.
Oh.
And Mayella, this book is meant to be what?
This book is meant to be suggestive only.
Thank you. And William, what do we realize?
We realize we know only a little.
Absolutely. And Zane, what will God constantly do?
God will constantly disclose more to you and to us.
He does.
The following is the 12-step prayer.
And Art, a three-part question. A, when should you ask? B, how often should you ask for it? And C, what should you ask for?
Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick.
Thank you so much. Terry, what is the promise?
The answers will come if your own house is in order.
Thank you. And Mayella, but you obviously cannot do what?
But obviously you cannot transmit something you have in God.
Very true. William, a two-part question. A, so what must we do? And B, what is the promise of this?
See it that your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others.
Thank you. Zane, what is this for us?
This is the great fact for us.
Thank you. Art, we should abandon ourselves to whom?
Abandon yourself to God as you understand God.
Is this steps 3, 6, and 7?
And Donald, admit our faults to whom?
Admit your faults to Him and to your fellows.
Is this steps 4 and 5?
Terry, we are to clear away what?
Clear away the wreckage of your past.
Is this steps 8 and 9?
And Mayella, we should then do what?
Give freely of what you find and join us.
Is this step 12?
And William, you got the first question and the last question, and it's a two-part question. A, how shall we be with you? And B, where shall we meet?
We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of active destiny. And may God bless you, keep you until then.
Thank you very much, everybody. So we're now going to open for comments and questions and observations based on what was just read. If you have experience with the portion of that we read, feel free to share. And just a reminder, please be mindful of your time and that others may have their hands raised and are waiting to share. And a friendly reminder, absence of profanity offends no one. So the floor is open.
I have one comment to come in with before we move on. We talked about, and I believe we researched this when we were proofreading, that the man who found more alcoholics per square mile was Hank Parkhurst, and we named him Hank in a couple of these things. But a quick Google search tonight tells me that it's actually Bill Wilson that did. So, and that makes sense because just being in that town a few weeks, that would have put him in Akron, Ohio. So we're going to have to do some more research on that and reproofread that part and find out the history a little more on it. But hey, it may have been both of them as well. Anything is possible. So I just thought I'd point that out, though, because we do want to have the history correct in all of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. So we need some hands up, folks. Hi, William.
Hi, my name is William. I'm alcoholic. I just want to say hello to everybody. I've been missing in action because of a lot of things that have been going on in my life. But definitely when we read this, what we read today, I see a lot of God that there at the time was being put together, being around and knowing a little bit about the history, and stuff like that. With Bill, I like the part when Bill went to Town Hospital and met Charlie, and Charlie says to Bill, bring those drunks here, and I'll give you some of the money and show them what he was making at that time. And Bill said, that's a good idea. And as he was going back on the subway, and he seen a sign as the doors open say, labor worthy of his hire, and Lois being working at Mason. And he get home and he found the drunks in the kitchen, and he told them what had happened to them. And they had an unformed group conscience, and they said to Bill, the good could be the enemy of the best. And so as I began to see stuff like this and see what they did when they wrote this book in 1939, and that part that it says that you may be one person with this book in your hand, but you could get sober and you could find somebody else to do that. Now, the thing that happened is, look, as they wrote this book, they put the stories in the back. Like they say, you may not meet us, but you see us and meet us, connect with us in the spirit. So they had other stories in the back of the book where one person would stay sober, but in the process of doing that, you search for somebody else. And definitely, I know what it feels like to wake up in the morning without untreated alcoholism. I get up, the first thing I do, I say, thank you, God, for bringing me here, And I start circulating information to clear away that stuff because it isn't wake up before I do, you know what I mean? So I have to get it right so I can come back in a place, spiritual place, where I can be loving, tolerant, and patient with other people. And so this way, as it says, we have a program of work. Now I live in the Bronx, and I got sober in the Bronx. When I got sober here, it's like it's a 1.5 million people that live here. And when I got sober here, I could walk to a meeting 7 days a week in my neighborhood, but I refused to do that, because at that time, when I was early sobriety, I didn't want nobody to see me going in and out of those meetings. I knew where all the liquor stores was, I knew where all the after-hour spots was, I knew all that other stuff. But when it came to this, and I can remember trying to sneak back in my community with my sunglasses on in the morning when people going to work, my cap down over here because I didn't understand that what was going on with me, But today I'm grateful that I'm sober. I'm grateful to have my friends all on Zoom that I could contact with down in Tennessee. and I can sit right in my living room in the Bronx and be connected with them because we talk about alcoholism. You know, it is the love and the patience, the tolerance that we have on each other, and definitely the tradition and the steps and God made all that possible and did. Because as you look at the history, it wasn't always as human beings, they wasn't always looking at things the way it turned out to be. So it was something other than them in those rooms at that time that helped guide them. So somebody like William could come in here and go at his own pace, you know. And I like when they said that in the steps, you know, Bill said something back in the third step. And he always used metaphor to bring on and say, because I heard other people getting sober and all this stuff going on, gotta do this, you gotta do that. And he say, put on the shoe that fits your feet, you know. And so we all on the outside, we look alike, but on the inside, the trauma and the stuff that have been done, my recovery was very slow, and I'm grateful for that because I'd have been out of here a long time ago. So thank you.
Thank you, William. Glad you're here. Good to see you again. Who's next? Hi, Larry.
Larry, you're muted.
You did.
I look at this story and I see all that AA has done, you know, in 180 something thousand, 116,773 groups, and that was in you know, I'm not sure when. I think that was what, 1979 or something when this the first was written. This particular book was written, and you know, 180 countries and whatever. But you know, I was talking with a young man tonight, and he is in a small rural area in Alabama, and I asked him about AA. He had relapsed, and the small pocket of area he's in got one AA group one time a week. And I said, well, there's got to be other AA groups around you. And he said, well, I've looked around me, and they've got a whole bunch in Birmingham, and I know they've got a lot there. And I said, well, there you go. I know they've got one every day in Birmingham. And we were talking and what all, and then I find out Birmingham is 2.5 hours from his house, you know. So, you know, there are pockets of people that don't have meetings like, you know, I moved here from California and got into AA in a small rural area of Tennessee. But even my small town had 4 AA meetings a week, you know, 4 different times, you know, 4 different nights a week. So, you know, sometimes, you know, though the people are not as lucky, and I talked to them, and I gave them this Zoom, you know, ID and password. I told them, well, let me tell you, that there are 2 or 3 meetings that you can go to a week on Zoom. Have you got a computer? And I you know, tried to encourage him because he's going home in a couple of days back to Alabama. And you know, he seemed very appreciative. You know, he didn't understand about Zoom meetings and stuff. He's just getting sober again, and you know, thank goodness for Zoom, and thank goodness that, you know, if you live in an area that you don't have meetings like,
like in New York, or even like in a small town of where I live, where I can go to 5 or 6 meetings, a week, with very little driving, within 20, 30 minutes of each other. I can get to 6 meetings a week, without a problem. And I can get to 7 meetings a week or more by just driving less than 45 minutes a week. So, I'm even in a lucky place. If I needed to get to a meeting, I drove a lot further than that to get a drink. And but there are areas that wasn't that are still unfortunate in this, and there's still work to be done in AA, and it just takes people to decide that they need a meeting. 2 people to pop up and say, I need a meeting in my town, and this town or that town. And so there's still work to be done in AA. And I'm grateful for what AA has done. They have saved countless thousands of lives. And I'm so grateful. That's all I've got.
Thanks, Larry. Terry.
Everybody, I'm Terry. Pickle Chips, recovered alcoholic. I always like a vision for you. I just find it to be a hopeful, happy chapter. And what always attracted me is how they talk about friendships. There are the same fast friendships as there are among our Western friends, but I found that when I got sober, I didn't have friends. I didn't like people. I tended to stay away from people as much as possible because I didn't want anybody to know that I was drunk. So when I got here, I shouldn't say that because I came to Al-Anon first, and I made fast friends in this 12-step program. But that's what attracted me too, is how fast I made friends, and that people made it easy for me to have friends. And then they bring it up later, in the same chapter about friendships and the friendships you'll make here. And I think that's real encouraging to somebody like me that really wanted friends. They just didn't want it when they were drinking. And then another part I like, that this is so powerful for me. You forgot that you've just now tapped a source of power much greater than yourself. I love that. I think that's just so powerful and so encouraging and hopeful. And then the very last thing I wanted to say is, it's only a matter of willingness, patience, and labor. They make it sound so easy. It's only a little matter of what you need to do. But I certainly was willing to do that. And I'm so glad I did. I'm glad I stuck it through, and I'm glad I have you people as friends. Thanks.
Thanks, Terry. Good to see you. Amanda, come on in.
My alcoholic. Yeah, a vision for you. It is a really informative chapter, because it gives us a little bit more of a history of our fellowship. I came in My story's in chapter 10, employee assistance program. And I know it ties together with this, but I was able to experience this fellowship on Zoom with, countries from all around the world. And there was always that one thing that I related to, relating to King Alcohol, how we all, how I felt the same way as everybody else, and the craving and the obsession and the allergy. But I always wanted to be in a space where I was safe, and learning the history of the program, knowing that it was effective with other people, and then the work that has to be done. That's where I see the truth. I see the truth on the spirit, on my spirit. I see the truth on how King Alcohol, what it does and how it really manifests. I was able to relate a lot sooner because I used to have a God that I related to with my grandma, and that was her God, and she let me borrow her God. So when I came into this room, I was happy to know my own God. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Stop now. Okay. There's no hand, so I'm going to come on in. I'm Trish, and I'm an alcoholic. And, that first sentence was me in the beginning. Life among Alcoholics Anonymous is more than attending gatherings and visiting hospitals. And while I didn't visit hospitals very often, I attended gatherings, I got involved in service, I touched on the steps, but I didn't really dive deep into the steps. But then the next sentence, it says, what are some of the other activities? And I had to get into those later on. It was the cleaning up old scrapes, helping settle family differences, and a whole bunch of other things. And then it touches on the tradition that Donald shared on tonight. No one is too discredited or has sunk too low to be welcomed cordially if he means business. I've got to remember, no one is too sick, no one is too far gone to come into AA if he or she wants to get sober, and if they're willing to do the work. And then Bill starts talking about being wrecked in the same vessel, which brings me back to there is a solution when he's talking about being wrecked on being the passengers in a wrecked vessel, and their fellowship and their camaraderie lasts for a short period of time. But for us, our friendship and our togetherness is going to last forever because we have the common bond of alcoholism. And it says we're restored, we're united under one God with hearts and minds attuned to the welfare of others. And that's what they didn't have back in There Is a Solution. They were all tied together with the shipwreck. But we're tied together with the recovery of alcoholism, with being united under God and being so attuned to other people and the welfare of other people. And then jumping forward where it talks about someday we hope every alcoholic who journeys will find the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. Back in 2014, I had the privilege to go to Germany with a bunch of people from church. And there were meetings there. We didn't get to meetings. There were two of us in this group who traveled, who were in the program. And at any time, if either one of us or both of us had said, hey, we want to go to a meeting, they would have made sure we got to one. But we looked up on German Intergroup. We looked up online in Google before we went to make sure there were going to be meetings around there, and there were. Don't know if they were German speaking or if they were American speaking, but just knowing they were there made going on that trip a little bit easier. And today there is I think very little places in the world, if any, where you're not going to find a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and there isn't no place on earth that to find enough to not have a meeting of AA because of Zoom. Because Zoom is always going to be with us. So what does that bring me? Exactly what Terry was talking about. We've tapped into that source of power. That source of power ties us together in our recovery from alcoholism. That source of power ties us together so that no matter where in this world I go, I'm going to find people in Alcoholics Anonymous. And with the phone and with cell phones and with Zoom, I'm always going to have them in my pocket. And what else does that source of power bring me? It brings me the contentment. It brings me the ability to clean up my past, to restore the old relationships, to be there to help other people. And that's things that I never wanted to do and never had any interest when I was still out there. I didn't want to know, how can I fix this? I just wanted to know, what am I going to get out of this? And the last bit of the reading, abandon yourself to God, admit your faults to Him and to your fellows, clear away the wreckage of your past, and give freely what you find. I wasn't going to give anything free. I wanted to get something out of it. I wasn't going to clear away the wreckage of my past because I wasn't going to admit to doing anything wrong. And I certainly wasn't going to admit my faults because then you were going to use them to hold over my head later on. But this relationship with God, this relationship of everybody that I found in AA has brought me to such a new life. I love the fellowship of the Spirit. And that as I trudge this road to happy destiny, I will meet other people on Zoom, in person, no matter where I go. I'm going to find AA. Thanks. Jamie.
Thanks, Trish. And I'm thinking next week we can do away with the timer because everybody kind of has their timing down. Hi, family. My name's Jamie. I'm a very grateful recovered alcoholic. And a couple of things. I'm going to make apologies, even though I really don't have to, but I'm going to anyway for the thing about the man who found more alcoholics per square mile being Hank Parkhurst. And the reason that we had that is because it's in the original copy of this Big Book study guide. But after doing some more research work on it, it was actually Bill Wilson. And that also happens to be in alignment with what the following answers are out of the book. He got in touch with a prominent psychiatrist who had undertaken certain responsibilities for the mental health of the condition. The doctor proved to be able and exceedingly anxious to adopt a workable method of handling the situation. So he inquired, what did our friend have on the ball? Our friend proceeded to tell him. And with such good effect that the doctor agreed to test among his patients certain other alcoholics from the clinic of which he attends. And what he's talking about there is what it talks about in the doctor's opinion of Bill on his third treatment having some ideas that would be helpful to other alcoholics. And so one of the things, for those of you who have never seen the background and what we do, there's Terry and several other people, Susan, have all been proofreaders because we have proofread this 4 times against the questions and against the book to make sure that we have it right. So this is something that we need to change to make sure it's right. And the reason is because we are presenting the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And to have anything misrepresented would be extremely dangerous. Now, about Hank Parkhurst, though, I will tell you this quickly, is that Frank Burwell, who was a printer, and Hank Parkhurst, who was also a businessman, were instrumental in bringing this book, well, the 1930s edition, into print. and to getting it to the presses. They are also the two atheists that had come up with God as you understand him, so that we didn't have quite so much insistence on somebody believing in God. Of course, Bill found ways of putting God back in, and that dependence on God. But that's pretty important. And this, the fourth edition that we work out of, the third edition came off the presses in 1976, but the fourth edition came off the presses in 2001. And that's, the fourth edition is generally what we use for consistency in this book study, and it's the ones that we sent out. So, moving on, I love everything that this chapter has to offer. And one of the most profound things in it, for me, is that I may only be one man with this book. It's my responsibility to carry the message that's in this book. Not my message, but the message of Alcoholics Anonymous. I love in the beginning how Ann Donald did a great job on Tradition 3 tonight, and right here in the beginning of it tonight, we see the idea of the third tradition introduced into this reading as well. But, you know, what's our primary purpose? To carry the message that's in this book. That certainly is the primary purpose of this group. For me as an alcoholic, it's the primary purpose for me as well. So when they talk about East and West, New York City, Akron, Ohio is only about 460 miles, and that's how far west they were going at that time. It's not like they were traveling all the way out to California or Nebraska or Colorado. And there in that western town where they had hundreds of people, that was Cleveland, Ohio, about 30 miles from Akron. So, you know, we can just see how this has grown, and where it talks about those small groups of 2s and 3s and so on. Here's one of the things that I love. You know, our biggest attendance in this meeting, I think, has been about 38 over the years. But we're a small, intimate group. We're generally anywhere from 16 to 22 or 23 every week. That's a small, intimate group. But it doesn't matter if there was only 4 or 5 of us, and sometimes in our other 3 meetings, that's all we have is 4 or 5 of us. But the important significance of that is that we carry the message that's in the book. A little bit about Zoom, and in the foreword to the 4th edition, I love what it says, and what this is visionary, and I don't think that they realized that Zoom would be here, because this is really quite profound. As soon as I can find it, I mean, you know, I can quote it, but why? In any meeting anywhere, AA share experience, strength, and hope with each other in order to stay sober and to help other alcoholics. Modem to modem, or face to face, AA speaks the language of the heart in all of its power and simplicity. You know, you don't have to have a computer to do Zoom. You can do it on a tablet. You can do it on your phone, and if you do it on your phone, you don't even have to have Wi-Fi, because you can, I mean, I spend hundreds of hours going up and down the road in Zoom meetings using my data. That's why I have unlimited data. So I think what my point about that is in my time in sobriety, I have known people who live half a block from a meeting and call and, can you pick me up for a meeting? Really? You can't walk half a block? I mean, I hate to say it, but, you know, what kind of lengths were we willing to go to get a drink? I go out in a damn blizzard in a thunderstorm to get a drink. You know, and that part that Terry was talking about the work being, I forget where it was, but about being patient and labor. There's really no labor in this. I'm not doing anything. All I have to do is make myself available. Making myself available is not hard work. You know, I'm glad, we kind of have a time frame in this group. But maybe some of you have heard this in other meetings. There's no soul saved after an hour. That's complete BS. Because souls are saved in fellowship all the time. Oftentimes, the meeting after the meeting is where the meeting really begins. You know, and this particular meeting, there have been times when we've been known to go on almost 3 hours before we close it out, because we always used to have a second half. What's my point about that? If the shares are good and the shares are deep and rich, and somebody's getting something out of it, we just don't stop the clock because the hour and a half is up. Because we want to hear from everybody. Because somebody is going to benefit out of it. This is an amazing, amazing program. And I love in the idea here that it does allude to sponsorship. It does allude to me being spiritually fit so that I can help another alcoholic. It alludes to so many things. And that idea where it says, you may not have the opportunity to meet some of us. Yes, we absolutely have the opportunity to meet them. We meet them right here in their personal stories. The other night, I was reading in the New Plain Language Big Book, Bill's story, right? Thanks, Bill. And the thing is, they're trying to do a autobiographical thing of Bill's story, and they're doing in my opinion, a horrible job of it, because only Bill can tell his story. And in this book, Bill's story is a classic 12-step call, as if he were sitting here talking to each one of us one-on-one, you know, and telling his story. So I don't think anybody but Bill can tell his story. They can't even seem to paraphrase it in the right ways. And I find that troubling. One thing that I don't do is I don't alter my story for anybody else. You know, my story is my story, and there's only one way that I know how to change my story, and that's to go out and get drunk, and then I'll have a different story. And that seems like an awful high price to pay. So I don't know, this book has such good, deep, rich value. And I love everything that it has to offer. As we come to a close, we have 7 weeks left, but as we come to a close on this year, this cycle, I'm so grateful to all of you who have continued to come back and again. And I hope that in the next season that you will come back again and again. And I hope that everyone will continue to learn from what we do in this study and the way that we do it, because it's not only going to benefit the individual, it's going to benefit anyone that you share with in any meeting you go with, in any town, in any country, and any person who's new to Alcoholics Anonymous or old. because God only knows there's a whole lot of old timers out there with some serious untreated alcoholism. This book shows us what we can receive from the full benefit of practicing these principles in all our affairs. But oftentimes, because of contempt and pride and ego, we cut ourselves short of receiving those full benefits. And I've spoken way too long. I'll shut up. And we will get this corrected for the next time. Thanks.
Did anybody else want to jump in before we close out?
What? No burning desires? Okay, well.
Read our closing, please. Oh, Terry's hand is up. Hold on.
There we go. Hi, Pickle Chips. What's up, Pickle Chips?
I'm double dipping, but when Jamie said, the part about learning, to continue growing and continue learning, not just for ourselves, but for the people that we're going to sponsor. I think that's what's so important. Even though I'm not sponsoring anybody right now, I know that all this knowledge I've gained is going to help another person. So it isn't just for me that I'm doing this. I'm doing this for others too. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you for being so much a big part of what we do here. And all the proofreading too. Okay, from page 164, we'll read it again. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order, but obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is a great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, everybody, for being here and being such a big part of this group and our meeting each week. And let's all go ahead and get ready to close out with a moment of silence, and we'll circle up with our hands in the screens, because we're not around the same table, not in the same time zone, so we can't hold hands physically, but we can hold our hands spiritually up together as we pray with and for each other. And we'll take a moment of silence for those still suffering inside and outside of these rooms, and we'll follow that with the Lord's Prayer. So here's your moment. Thank you. And who brings us from shame to grace if we let him? Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in the heavens. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you, folks.
Thank you everybody for this meeting.